When it comes to animations, render times or render costs are the biggest obstacles. You could potentially use the real-time software, but the quality is not there yet. In this video, I will show you how to drastically cut the render times and, as a result, cut the costs if you are using a render farm. My animation is composed at 25 frames per second. This means that in order to get 1 second of animation, I have to render 25 still images. My full animation excluding video footage is 1 minute, 1 second and 70 frames long. It means that I had to render 1542 images in 4K resolution. What if I tell you that we don't have to render all of these frames or render them in lower resolution and still get high quality results? This is exactly what I want to tell you. We can use Topaz VideoAI software to achieve that. Topaz is a software that can do upscaling and frame interpolation of video footage. With upscaling, you are able to, for example, render Full HD footage and upscale it to 4K. If we render Full HD instead of 4K, we speed up rendering 4 times. Frame interpolation is used to create slow-motion video from footage recorded in lower frame rates. For example, if we have 25 frames per second footage and we want to slow it 4 times, the result will be very laggy because we don't have enough frames. With Topaz, we can generate these missing frames and achieve a smooth and natural result. We can use the same logic to speed up our render. Now we are able to render every 2nd, 4th, 8th or even 16th frame and generate the missing frames using this software. Here is the math. Let's assume you are using a render farm and will use 4 times interpolation on average across the project plus 2 times upscaling. Your bill will be just 1/16 or 6.25% of what it would be if you render all the frames in the final resolution. Now, let me show you how to upscale your animation. Upscaling is really easy. First, let's load your sequence. We have to change the type here to see the still images. Then you just go to the output resolution and choose 2 times upscale. Keep the frame rate the same as you set it in 3ds Max. I prefer to do upscaling and frame interpolation separately to avoid issues, but you can try to do it together. Here is the result of this particular example. You can see that there are no issues, and the image looks like it was rendered in 4K. Here is the zoomed-in version, so you can see it better. I think we can push it even further and do 3 times upscaling. I think it looks pretty good. Here is the comparison between 2 and 3 times upscaling. The 2 times upscaling looks better, but the difference is not huge. Frame interpolation is easy as well. After you load your sequence, you just enable it here. I like to change the AI model to Chronos and keep the rest of the settings as default. The only thing we need to change is the slow motion mode. Here are a few examples. You can see that interpolating every second frame looks fine, but if we move to 4 and 8 frames, we have really noticeable problems. You have to treat each situation individually and do some test renders before, to see how far you can optimize each scene. For example, here we rendered every 16th frame without issues, because the camera movement is slow and there is no movement in the scene. But there are some cases where we cannot use frame interpolation, like here for instance. Where something is moving fast, it can be a camera object or lighting in this case. Topaz doesn't have enough information to accurately interpolate a frame. In this case, there should be a hard shadow line in between, but the software decided to do a soft blend. In this case, you either have to render every frame or do a frame interpolation and re-render only the problematic frames. You have to decide what's more beneficial based on your particular example. Similarly, here we couldn't do frame interpolation because of the bubbles, but we figure out a smart solution to render the whole image every 8th frame and re-render every frame of a small region where the bubbles are, which we place on top. It drastically decreased the render time, as this shot was quite demanding because of a shallow depth of field and caustics. It's all about being smart and flexible. If you want to improve as an artist, secure your job and be perceived as an expert in the field, boosting your skills is the best option. With more than 80 lessons from our new animation training, you will learn everything you need to know about commercial architectural animations. We structured the course in 10 modules to support you with the most effective learning. We explain how we created the animation step by step, so you will be able to create your video afterward. Check all the details on our website. When it comes to rendering costs, let me break that down for you. We used Helio Cloud Rendering. On average, the rendering time of one frame in 4K resolution on my PC was about 40 minutes, as high quality was my #1 priority. Let's put the number of frames and the loading time. Here is the estimated cost. 10 render units is $1, so in this case, it would have been around $5,500. Now let's plug in the values we can achieve with the help of Topaz software. I will put 1/4 of the time it would take to render a 4K image, and I will make the number a bit higher because it's not linear. Some calculations are taking the same time regardless of resolution. I will divide the number of frames by 4, assuming rendering every 4 frames on average. And here are the results. The difference is huge, as in this case, the whole rendering would cost only $450 compared to $5,300 with standard rendering. Lastly, let's cover the scenario with 3 times upscaling. This time, we have to divide 40 minutes by 9. I will add a bit of time here as well. Now the bill went down to only $184. For the students of our new animation training, Helio gave $200 in render units, so you will be able to render your first animation for free if you use the methods from this tutorial. Next, let me show you how to set it up in 3ds Max. Let's say your animation ranges from frame 1 to frame 66, and you want to render every 2 frames. You cannot do that this way because Topaz will not be able to create frame number 66 with only the previous frame. The software needs 2 frames to create a new frame in between. So in this case, we have to render from frame 1 to frame 67. And later, we will cut this last frame. Make sure that, for example, your camera is animated beyond frame 66 in this case. If you want to render every 8 frames, we have to render all the way to frame 73 for the same reason. Here are the render images. We have rendered every second frame, so we have frame 1, 3, 5, and so on. The problem is that Topaz software or any other video editing software will not read this as a sequence. We can do it quickly with the Power Rename tool, which is a part of PowerToys free software. Just select all the files, right-click, and choose the Power Rename tool. In the top field, we type the part we want to change. As an example, I will change the exterior part. In the bottom field, we type the new name. And here it is. The second problem is that we have different numbers in each file name. So in this case, we have to change the last 4 characters. Type this expression. In the bottom field, we need to use an expression as well. This is the one we need. The number in the expression specifies the total number of digits in the name. If you use 4, the name will have the same format as before. Make sure use regular expressions option is checked. Click Apply. You can see that we have 4 digits in every name, and all the numbers have +1 increments. Next, let me show you how to export from Topaz. After you set it all up, open the Export tab. Here you can choose if you want to export it as a video or image sequence. I prefer to export it as EXR to keep the highest quality for future color correction and final export, but it can get quite heavy. I would like to keep the original name, but I prefer not to keep the original frame numbers. I will set it so it starts from frame number 1. When you adjust your settings, just click Export. You can save your own presets as well. If you want to learn all about architectural animations, join our training. If you want to see the full animation breakdown, watch the top video. Bye bye!